This video is brought to you by B&H, which is kind enough to sponsor this video with this anamorphic lens. This one. So, why did they invent the anamorphic lens? Well, it's pretty simple. Back in the day, film had to be square. That's the way it came out of the camera. And they wanted a wider aspect ratio. So what they did is they invented a lens that would scrunch everything horizontally that they could squeeze out later to be a wider aspect ratio. Besides the aspect ratio, there are two things that occur: vertical bokeh and horizontal lens flare. Today we're going to be talking about how to replicate both of those on a DIY budget. So why doesn't everyone have an anamorphic lens? Well, it's pretty simple. The shape of bokeh is dictated by the shape of the lens, and more specifically, the aperture. If you have a spherical lens, then you will have spherical bokeh. So, does that mean cats have anamorphic eyes? Let me know in the comments below. Let's Dexley. The second component is horizontal lens flare. Pause this video, squint your eyes, and look at the brightest thing in the room. If you did it right, you should have seen a kind of vertical lens flare, and that's because of your eyelashes, unless your head is tilted and it's horizontal. To replicate this, we need to put something that is translucent and thin in front of our lens. Something that I think would work is probably fishing wire. Let's go give it a try. Dang it. So here's what you need: a dark piece of paper, scissors, glue, a pen, fishing wire, and an advanced knowledge of geometry. Oh rats, I forgot my pen. Trace around the edge of your lens and cut out the circle. Then fold the paper in half twice to figure out where the middle is. Mark it with your pen and then trace a half prism around it while it's folded. Cut it out and you have your filter. It might take a few times to get the prism to be the right shape and size of the aperture, so you may have to try it a few times. There are two reasons why a wide aperture is a good idea. One, they blur out your filter, and two, they allow you to make a larger prism. You doggone pooch. Don't eat it, that's a cricket. So it turns out that you have to put your fishing wire vertically across the prism. In simple terms, this is the reason why. When a lens is intaking light particles, it repurposes the orientation of coexisting luminance, thus adjusting the rotation of non-distinct properties. Actually, I have no idea.
Time out. What temperature is it?
5 cents.
Think of a number.
86.
86. Dude!
I'll go down to 85.
87.
What is it?
87.3.
No!
Let's go!
5 stupid cents. After you glue on the fishing line, this is what your filter should look like. So just pop it on the front of your lens using tape or whatever you have on hand. We didn't have to do this because it fits perfectly inside of our lens cover. Also, make sure that that fishing line is perfectly vertical with the ground. Otherwise, your lens flare is going to be super wonky. But there is still something that we are missing. The cherry on top of the icing is the... Okay, let me just pause this for a second to explain two cons that I wasn't able to record earlier. The first one is the vertical lines through every single bokeh, and the second one is the flare expanding near the edges. So take a look at this clip. It looks pretty good, except there is a line through every single one of these bokeh. So what is that? That is the fishing line that is blocking out the light that's supposed to be getting into the sensor. Real anamorphic lenses do not have this, and since you're trying to replicate them, this is a big no-no. You can avoid this by getting thinner fishing wire, but also be warned, it lessens the flare. If you've never seen a movie that's shot with an anamorphic lens, then this isn't really a problem, but I can pretty much guarantee that you have. And the thing is, with actual anamorphic lenses, they recede near the edges, they do not expand. So that's kind of a big no-no. I do not have a concrete way of solving this. If you have a better idea, then please leave it in the comments below. I'd love to check it out. But for now, I'm just shooting a little wider than I think I'll have to, and then scaling up the video in post. Okay, that's it for now. Back to the tutorial. The cherry on top of the icing is the aspect ratio. Since we aren't stretching the footage with our filter, we're gonna have to do this one in post. Most people do this wrong, but if you wanna do it right, then you wanna check out the video we made. You can click it up here if you're from the future, but if you're in the present like most of us, then you're just gonna have to wait a few days. This is Crossbow Productions, and you can do it yourself.